Believe it or not, restaurant profit margins are not real big.
Meet John, a passionate restaurant owner whose establishment serves hundreds of customers daily. Despite the bustling business, John's restaurant eventually closed its doors. The reason? He neglected the most crucial aspect of running a successful restaurant: managing the finances. This is where most restaurants lose their money.
More than a lot of other industries, I think that restaurant accounting is, you need to be hypersensitive to almost daily profit and losses and being aware of, your food costs, your labor costs, and keeping track of all those things, and, daily to weekly, all the way through. And if you are off a little bit, believe it or not, restaurant profit margins are not real big, and they can be lost really quickly. Because I just think, if your plate cost, which is one of the things that you should be doing, is you have it scheduled to be, 30% of what you're charging the customer. We'll just say that number. But and it's got some steaks or some whatever it has in there, but because either the chef or the server wants to maybe get a better tip or something, they start, piling on the plate a little bit more. And it might be a few pennies or, even $1 or something. That profit margin, can go to, we'll just say 35% instead of 30%, real quickly. And in that one plate, you can lose pretty much all of your profit margin that you have. Typically we try and get maybe 7 or 8% bottom line profit to a business, but it's pretty easy to see most, if not all, of that going. Same thing with labor costs. If you're overstaffed and you're trying to be nice to keep people on, well, if they're really not doing things, they're sitting around, that can eat into your profit real quickly too. And then, of course, you've got spoilage and several other issues that are there. So just being aware, and the price creep, because food costs in particular, they can go up and down weekly. And if you're not aware of those things and making adjustments, then you can go from a profitable to an unprofitable position very, very quickly. Yeah, then the other problem, of course, is like if you're already contracted in at a certain level, like your cake person, maybe they've got says, we'll do this cake for $2,000 or whatever the number is. Now, all of a sudden, they might have made that contract a couple months ago, but all of a sudden egg prices went up, doubled or whatever else, and boom, they may be stuck depending upon how it's going. But if you think of a restaurant, we don't see very many permanent menus anymore, and that's because of pricing differences a lot. And, if you got these laminated things and stuff, it costs a lot of money to get those things printed and made and updated. So there's a lot of money, a lot of time to get that done. And one of the reasons why you're seeing paper ones almost always is because overall it can be cheaper and they can adjust accordingly easier. And yes, they can have specials and include those in there, and that can be a selling point. The other piece that I think we've all seen, or at least a lot of places, is we used to have like these huge menus that went, 4, 5, 6 pages or something. They were big and they had a ton of options. And I think we're all noticing that the number of items that they serve, or at least their options, has gone way down. And a lot of that's because of spoilage and trying to be a lot more on top of the plate cost and making sure that we don't lose fruits, vegetables, meats to spoilage that don't get sold. So, those slow moving items, they just kind of get pulled off the menu. It bums us all out because we all would love to have, 30 choices as well, and maybe our favorite thing is gone, but they had to because not enough people had that on their presence or on
Right.
their list of buying. Larger restaurants, they have the systems in place a lot more than the smaller restaurants do for, when they go and they tap in your order. All of those things at the larger restaurants in particular are plate costed, and they're probably done at least weekly within their system. They know the charges, they know how much was charged for them from the whatever food company that they're getting the stuff from, and they've got it. And this is okay. If it's a hamburger, it's a quarter pound with a lettuce, a tomato, a bun, and a few condiments, and they know what that cost is immediately. These smaller plates can do the same thing, but there's only so many hours in the day, especially if they're also the chef and the chief cook and bottle washer and whatever else. And
Right.
so it's more of a feel than it is actual. And so when we're working with smaller business people, it's like, okay, I understand there's that feel and that you're there every day, but let's prove it to yourself. Okay. And let's just make sure that what you think is real, and kind of keeping a tab on that, and what's counted is checked, and you're just a little more aware. I will tell you, I won't say it's universal, but like nobody wants to do inventory. They just don't. They hate it. And I understand that, but it can be a critical piece. Again, with restaurants, you've got commodities that are fungible. They can be, and I hate to bring up theft, but theft in restaurants can be huge. And things going out the back that they can turn around and sell to somebody else on the street,
Right.
or whatever, real easy, including a bar. That's another one. Bottles of whatever. So all those things, that's a real fungible, easily convertible product to cash. So I guess I would compare it to like a retail store. They're going to buy whatever their products are at a fixed price. So you pretty much know what those fixed prices are. They'll probably have a higher inventory and a longer lead time on a lot of this stuff, but you can buy things, whatever your supplies are, and maybe get them cheaper on some discount days or something. With restaurants, because their stuff is so perishable, they got to be buying weekly and restocking weekly, and
Right.
and can be very susceptible to economic downturns. When I get a new client in that's a restaurant, it's one of the first things we look at is what is their gross profitability. And after taking the sales of the business, less food, labor, and direct supply costs that are going into that product. So we look at that heavily, and we talk about that, and we start kind of working from there. Most of the businesses come either from a disagreement with their prior accountant, or not being talked to or understanding things, to they just think that they just need a tax return. But then we start looking at it and saying, hey, do you want to become more profitable, really? Or what are you doing here? Sometimes people think that being the cheapest in town is that's the key. Maybe it is, but you got to do a lot more volume.
Right.
And make sure that whatever meats and whatnot, you've got maybe some lower grade stuff to offset some of those things to make sure it doesn't go out crazy.
Uh-huh.
Or no, we just got to look at it and see who you are. Believe it or not, I think restaurants and one of the bigger industries that has a ton of math in it that we don't think about. But there's a ton of math in restaurants, and measurements and costing and timing and tons of stuff that you have to always consider. And if you're really good at that or not, I don't know. So people call us the bean counters, and they don't like us because, oh, you're taking away my pepperoni or whatever. But it truly is. You can. There's not that much profit in a restaurant normally, and just these little slip ups mostly between food costs and labor costs are the two big ones. Supplies sometimes are in there. Are we accounting for those things and making the price adjustments necessary to keep up with inflation? Since we've had so much inflation in the last year and a half, it's really, really important to try and do that. So, and keep on it all the time.